Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider, the most electric podcast in the 716. We have a lot to get into, but for today's first segment, we're going to be talking about the Bills like normal. Join with me is Nate Palmer, Michelle Morocco, and Caleb Abula as we talk about the Bills' dominating win against Tennessee Titans and preview the Seattle Seahawks game next week. Starting off, the Bills just traded for Amari Cooper, and he made his debut in this game, having 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown, and was PFF's second highest graded receiver for the week. Caleb, what were your thoughts on his debut?
I think beyond the numbers, he was so impactful.
Helping out the other receivers, giving Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, and the running game more space to operate, and taking one of those safeties with him over the top. It just made everything a lot easier for everybody, including Josh Allen. And obviously, he did have the touchdown on a viral play where Keon Coleman confirmed his route. And I just think he helped the whole wide receiving core out, helped all the weapons, and, of course, Josh Allen. So I think his impact has been immense, or was immense, and will continue to be so.
Yes, and he wasn't the only one with a great game. Josh had 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. And yeah, I mean, he didn't have much running, but he was passing it up and down. Ray Davis had a touchdown. Either way, very good game for the offense. Michelle, what were your thoughts on the offense as a whole? What really stood out to you?
People stood out to me. First being Keon Coleman. He led the receiving group with 125 yards, and he had about a 60-yard catch, I believe. That was really great. And also Ray Davis carried the ground game. He had 41 yards, 5 carries, and a touchdown. So Josh using different people, different targets, really spread out the game and really was great for us.
Yes, and Tennessee is
statistically one of the better defenses in the league this year. Yes, they were without their top 2 corners, but either way, very, very stellar performance against a good defense. And then obviously on the defensive side of the ball for Bills, holding the Titans to only 10 points. Yes, they were without their starting quarterback. Yes, their offense hasn't been that great this year. But either way, when you hold a team to 10 points or less, you can only do that if your defense plays well. So, Nate, what were your thoughts on the defense? What really stood out to you?
I thought they played pretty good, especially in the second half. The young boys stood out to me. Smoot and my man Dwayne Carter. I call him Little Wayne. Weezy F baby. He got us a Little Wayne on the team. I like them. They making some splash plays, and I'm excited about the depth on the defense.
All right. And then on Sunday, the Bills
travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks at 4 p.m. The Bills are favored by 3 points in that game, as the Seahawks are without likely DK Metcalf as he suffers an MCL sprain. The Bills injury report hasn't been released yet, but there was a couple of guys that weren't seen at practice today with Dawson Knox, Dwayne Smoot, Daquan Jones. Terrell Bernard wasn't there for personal reasons and also has the ankle injury. So it'd be a much more telling sign at tomorrow's practice who's really going to play on Sunday. But Caleb, so we talked about Amari's first game. Obviously, he only had a limited snap percentage. He didn't run a lot of routes, but he was still very productive. As he gets more into this offense, he's going to obviously see the field more. What do you want to see out of him this game to keep improving?
I really want to see him take either Woolen or Witherspoon and have them follow him throughout the game and just open up as much space as possible underneath for guys like Kincaid, Cook, and Shakir. Because obviously with Seattle, they have 2 elite corners in Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon. But outside of that, their secondary isn't very good. Their linebackers haven't been great this season. Jordan Brooks is still a good football player, but nothing special. So my main focus is not any numbers he puts out, but how much attention he can get from the defense and take it away from a lot of pressure away from everybody else on the team.
All right, and then Michelle,
outside of Amari Cooper, what are you really looking forward to see in this offense against an up-and-down Seahawks defense?
I'm looking for us to stay consistent. I feel like we tend to struggle in the first half and then find our way in the second. But I think I want to see us find that consistency earlier in the game, get in the groove with the other team's plays, and just find that consistency and find our groove.
All right, and then
the Bills are going up against the Seahawks. Even without DK Metcalf, they still have some weapons over there. Geno Smith's been balling out. This offense has been one of the better ones in the league and at home. So what do you really want to see this defense do, Nate?
Buffalo going to definitely have to get off to a fast start on defense, man, because you got to take that 12th man out of the game. Seattle is notoriously one of the hardest places to play in the NFL. So the defense is going to have to really start fast and make Geno Smith off a rhythm.
I completely agree.
I just want to get your guys' game predictions. Caleb, what are your predictions for the game? Who's the X factor?
I think the X factor is yet again going to be Keon Coleman, and see if he can produce some big plays, because that's really what broke open the game against Tennessee, and I think it's what they can do this week. I worry about the press coverage that he's going to play against a Woolen or Witherspoon, and I think because of that, I'm going to have it being a lower scoring game, especially without DK. I'm going to leave it at 24-17 Bills, and Keon Coleman's going to go for 100 yards off a broken play or two.
Who's your X factor for the game, and what is your score prediction?
My X factor for the game is our quarterback, Josh Allen. Can he stay in rhythm? If he can stay in rhythm, I think then it's a game that Buffalo should be able to pull out, and I think he will stay in rhythm and will eke out a close victory. I got us winning 24-22.
Michelle, what about you?
My X factor is Ray Davis. I think he's made a big impact this season, and I think the score is going to be 2017 Bills.
For me,
My X factor is going to be Greg Rousseau. The Seahawks have a pretty bad offensive line outside of Charles Cross, and Greg Rousseau had a really good game last week. Can he continue to turn it up and this time turn those QB hits into sacks and really turn this game on its head? I have the Bills winning this game 31-21. I think this is going to be a more high-scoring game as two electric offenses collide. Moving on for our next segment, after the commercial break, we have Colin to talk to us about the rest of the NFL.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's lumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're going to take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. Today for our NFL segment, I'm your host, Colin Ritchie, and I'll be joined by Antonio and Spike. Antonio, welcome to the NFL segment. Why don't you start us off recapping Lions-Vikings from Week 7?
Yeah, it was a game for the weekend, I'll have to say, for me. Going into this game big for the NFC North, the Lions came in 4-1, while the Vikings were coming in with a perfect record of 5-0. Sam Darnold's been playing some amazing football. You could almost say MVP level football. Going into this game, for the game, Jared Goff went 22 for 25. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 112 yards. Sam Darnold, 22 for 27. He had an interception in there that cost him a bit. They went down 10-0. Going into the half, they were down, but in the second half, they came back, had a lot of big plays, including an Ivan Pace fumble return for a touchdown. They thought they were going to win off of that. Their defense was able to get another stop on the Lions, but unfortunately, Sam Darnold and them, they weren't able to convert on that, get the first down that was needed to be able to end the game. With that being the case, the Lions were able to get the ball back. Jared Goff drove down the field. He played a good game, and Jake Bates was able to end it with a game-winning field goal. So,
I agree. I think that was the game of the weekend. Now, Spike, you're a resident Jets fan. The Jets were in the news a lot this past week, and even the week before that. They played the Steelers on Monday Night Football. What happened to the Jets, man?
Well, another bad hair day for me, another bad performance for the New York Jets. 2 interceptions by Aaron Rodgers, one not being his fault, but throwing in the quad coverage up the middle on a drive that you really needed to have up 15-6 going towards the half, and you just have a costly interception. A great play by the rookie Bishop Jr. to get a hand out there stretching backwards, but that's just not a pass that you need to throw. And Garrett Wilson bobbling the ball right back into Bishop's hand. Nothing seems to go right for this team. We traded for Devontae Adams, and it seems like a curse because once you become a Jet, you become unable to catch the football. His first pass that touched his hands went to the turf. He only had 3 targets for the whole game. I believe it was actually 3 receptions, but the targets were not in his favor. Breece Hall did not carry the ball very well. He did have a touchdown, but the defense lacked. A lot of injuries, both DJ Reed and Michael Carter out. Both our starting safeties out. 2 of our starting defensive linemen were out. Will McDonald was still able to get on the stat sheet, though, recorded a sack. He is the highlight, it seems, of this entire season so far, being a leading sack leader in the NFL right now. Russell Wilson looked great, though. 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris is being exactly what they wanted him to be for the last couple of years. And the Steelers roll on to 5-2. They continue this very well put together season that they're having right now. And the Jets fall down to 2-5. And it seems like it's the same mantra every year. And I don't know if they're ever going to figure it out.
Well, as a Bills fan, I certainly hope the Jets never figure it out. We had another great game on Monday Night Football, the Ravens facing off against the Buccaneers, and Baltimore dominated the Bucs with Lamar Jackson throwing for 5 touchdowns in the 41-31 victory. Derrick Henry ran for 169 yards on the ground, while Mark Andrews found the end zone twice. And Baker Mayfield threw for 2 touchdowns, but had injuries to his receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Losing both of those guys is definitely going to take a hit to their passing attack for the foreseeable future at the least. Now, Antonio, the Eagles and the Bengals in Week 8, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. What do you got for us in that preview?
I would definitely have to say it's going to be a game to watch for sure. The Eagles are 4-2 going into Cincinnati. The Bengals are 3-4. Both teams been playing similar to me. The offense for the Bengals has been a lot better, while for the Eagles, they definitely give me a couple of scares, especially a couple of weeks back. But recently, they're on the 2-game win streak, including a big one over my Giants, sadly, 28-3. That was a massacre. So they're going into that game with a lot of confidence. For both those teams, I feel like it's going to be interesting because there's a reason why both teams need this win. The Eagles, they're trying to keep up with the Commanders' pace up in their division. And for the Bengals, after a rough start being 3-4, they need this one if they want to continue to be at pace with the Ravens, who have been on fire recently.
One of my favorite matchups for this week is the Colts and the Texans. Texans sitting at 5-2, Colts sitting 1 game behind them at 4-3. This AFC South showdown is going to have big divisional implications. CJ Stroud and the Texans are coming off a 24-22 loss to the Packers, and their offense just hasn't looked the same since Nico Collins went down with an injury against the Bills. Meanwhile, the Colts offense arguably looked better with Joe Flacco in at quarterback, but you can't blame the franchise for not giving up quite yet on former number 4 overall pick Anthony Richardson. And Jonathan Taylor is returning to practice today, so he does have a chance to return to the field for the first time since week 4. Spike, Bears and Commanders, arguably the 2 offensive rookie of the year frontrunners in Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. This might be my favorite matchup of the week.
Both of these rookies are showing out, and they have been showing out in their own ways. Caleb Williams in the passing game and Jaden Daniels taking care of it in the air and on the ground. Jaden Daniels not only receiving Offensive Rookie of the Year nods, but a couple of MVP chances and speculation has been put out there as he was climbing up the polls and still has a viable shot at that if he keeps performing at the level he is. He was not in the entirety of, I believe it wasn't the Colts they played, but he was not in the entirety of the game last weekend. I cannot remember for the life of me right now, but he's going to be playing again this weekend. And I believe that these 2 are going to have an amazing game. I believe it's going to be a shootout between these 2 teams. Neither defense has been playing exceptionally well. I believe it could be a recap of Commanders Ravens, maybe just a little bit of more offense, considering that these teams really like to just let it fly. And if they can get it going on the ground, they will keep pounding it as much as they possibly can. This is going to be a very electric game and a very important game involving the NFC and the NFC's playoff picture moving forward.
That will conclude our NFL segment for the week. Thank you for joining us. Antonio, thanks for being here. Up next, we've got the Buffalo Sabres, hosted by Michelle.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's lumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're taking care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hello and welcome back to the Sabres segment. I'm Michelle and I'm joined with Alex, Colin, and Thomas, and we're going to be going over the Buffalo Sabres and how they've been doing. So we've had a very inconsistent games the past 6 games that we've had. They cannot seem to find their groove. The consistency isn't there. So with that being said, let's preview the Red Wings game. Alex, can you talk about that for me?
Yeah, this is a pretty big game, in my opinion, for the Sabres. We just rattled off 2 straight wins.
We dug ourselves such a big hole to start the year by starting out 0-3, starting out 1-5, to be able to get a win here, to get 3 straight, move back to now 4-5. Now we're back getting into the race. I understand it's still early season. You don't make the playoffs in the regular season or early on in the season, but you can miss it with a bad start. So we can't afford to drop off. We need to stay in the thick of things. So this is a big game for them against a team in our division that we are going to probably be battling for at the end to make the playoffs. And I do think we come out with a win because we have been playing a lot better. I mean, in the Pittsburgh game, what it was just their stars showed out when it was needed. They were better on special teams, and the goaltending was awful. Columbus, the goaltending was just god-awful. Those are things I don't expect that often out of UPL or Devin Levi. They're both very good goalies. So I don't expect them to have games where they allow 6 goals that often. But our offense, these last couple, we've scored, let's see, 18 goals in 4 games. I mean, that our offense has been absolutely clicking, or 17 goals. Either way, our offense has been extremely well these last couple games. This first line is clicking with Tage Thompson and Peterka. The third line is clicking. Ryan McLeod, Zucker, Greenway. I mean, the defense pairing of Byram and Power has been looking really well. The Sabres have been playing great. We just need to figure out this power play, get our goaltending controlled. And these last 2 games it has been as UPL has gotten back on track and played a lot better. And ultimately, I think we are going to be able to take care of this game because Detroit hasn't looked that great to start the year either.
Exactly.
Thomas, can you give me a little bit about the Panthers game coming up?
Yeah, what is there not to be said? I mean, we played the Panthers already and beat them 5-2, one of our only wins until this win streak we're on right now. But at the same time, we didn't play them at their best. Obviously, the Spencer Knight game, he just could not really stop a shot. I mean, this just is a different Panthers team once they have everybody healthy, and they do this week that we're going to be playing them. I do think that this is going to be a very close game. I think the Florida Panthers are a very good team. I feel like there's one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about right now with the Florida Panthers, and that's their defense. The loss of Brandon Montour in the offense has really made them take a hit. Last night they lost 5-1 to Minnesota Wild, and 16 shots against for Sergei Bobrovsky. He gave up 5 goals, only 11 saves in the contest. Absolutely poor showing from him. And I don't think that's a testament to how bad Bobrovsky is, because he's looked great at times, miraculous at times even. And it's just kind of a testament to how bad this defense has been. And realistically, that's something that not a lot of people are talking about to start this season. But I do think they'll finally bounce back. I think they're getting a 4-game road trip, I believe, coming up. They have the Rangers tomorrow, and then the Islanders, and then us on Monday. And then they also will play the Stars on the road as well. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I do think that Buffalo has a good chance.
I agree. Moving on, Colin, what do you think we need to stay consistent and keep winning games?
Yeah, well, Alex touched on it a little bit. This power play has just been atrocious so far to start the season. 0 for 22 on the year. The only power play in the NHL that hasn't scored a goal yet. And, I'm watching the Sabres this season, and they go 0 for 6 in Prague on the power play, 0 for 5 in the home opener against the Kings, 0 for 3 against the Panthers in a big win that they had, 0 for 1 against Pittsburgh. And I'm sitting there watching that Pittsburgh game thinking they're 0 for 15 on the power play. This is ridiculous. So I am actually trying to start a movement. I've recruited a couple people to join me in this. I am not watching another minute of the Buffalo Sabres until they score a goal on the power play. So these last 3 games against the Blue Jackets, the Blackhawks, and the Stars, I've actually not watched. I've seen some highlights, some clips online, but I've not sat down in front of my TV and watched them play. And let me tell you, in the meantime, they're 0 for 7 on the power play, and my mental health is at an all-time high. So anyone that's interested in joining the movement with me, let's do this. Go score a power play goal, Buffalo Sabres. Please, I'm begging you.
Unfortunately, I will not be able to join you on that. It's depressing as they be. I will always
Please watch them.
Yeah.
I love the Sabres, but I may have to join you, Colin. So on a lighter note, let's move on to who we think our star player is on the Buffalo Sabres. I'm going to start out JJ Peterka. I've loved him since he got drafted. I have been his number 1 supporter. This season, he has 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. He's a great goal scorer, a good team player. I think overall he's one of the best guys that we have on the team. Alex, who's your star player?
For me, I'm going to go with Tage
Thompson. I mean, 2 years ago, he really burst into the scene with the 45 and 45 he had. He was absolutely electric. And then last year, he kind of fell off a little bit. He was battling a wrist injury. The offense as a whole just took a step back. But at the end of the year, you saw when Peterka got moved up on that first line with him and Tuch instead of Skinner, that last 15 to 20 games, Thompson was getting healthy and he started cooking again. So I'm like, if Peterka, Tuch, and Thompson are that first line, I wholeheartedly believe that they will be really good once again this year. And so far, they have been great. They've scored a goal in every game except for the first game of the year. Thompson, I think, has 5 goals and 3 assists in 8 games. His shots are hitting. He's passing the puck well. He's playing absolutely great. He's even playing some good defense. I've seen him make some nice hits, some nice checks. Forced a couple turnovers. He's just overall playing much better than he was at this point last year. And it's great to see it because as being our best offensive player, our second best player in the team, we expect him to play this well if we want to be able to be a playoff team.
Exactly. Thomas, who's your star player?
I mean, the obvious answer for me right now is Ryan McLeod. He has 4 goals all in spring games right now. Obviously, the assist as well. He has 5 points on that third line for the Buffalo Sabres, which we've seen our bottom 6 do absolutely nothing in years past. It's been can we just not allow any goals on our bottom 6 and then just hope that the top 6 can make up for the lack of offensive play? Honestly, this year, it's a nice change of pace. It's cool to see Ryan McLeod doing his thing. Another shout out, though, is Alex Tuch. He's been phenomenal on that line one as well. He has the team's lead in points and goals so far this season. So it's interesting to see as the Sabres season continues.
Colin, who's your star player?
So, as I said, haven't watched the last 3 games, but when I was watching the Sabres, a guy that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but just always seems to be in the right place at the right time, battling hard in the corners for the puck, is Zach Benson. And for him to be as young as he is and as inexperienced as he is, and for him to continuously make his mold on the game and influence the play in the Sabres' favor. Again, he hasn't really showed up on the stat sheet as much as you'd like him to, but those opportunities are going to keep coming, and all of a sudden he's going to have 20, 30 goals in a season in no time.
Yep, that's great. I hope Colin will start watching the game soon. So let's move on to our next segment with Thomas hosting MLB.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
And how's your serve coming along?
Not so good.
I think we should work on it this weekend.
Mom, Amy's birthday bash slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our final segment of today's show. My name's Thomas Bailey. Alongside me, Antonio Calderon and Nathan Palmer. First off, we're going to talk about the MLB. Last time we talked, we were all tied at 2 games in each series of the AL and NLCS series. And now here we are, World Series. Game 1 is this Friday. It is the Yankees taking on the Dodgers. We've seen this so many times in years past. We'll get into it. But first, let's talk about each series in depth. Antonio, I'll kick it to you to talk about the New York Yankees dismantling the Guardians aside from an amazing performance in Game 3 with a walk-off homer. What are your thoughts on the series?
I got to say, that series had me scared for my life. A lot of those games very close at the end. A lot of at-bats had me at the edge of my seat watching. But I have to say, Giancarlo Stanton has been absolutely locked in these playoffs. He was serious when he said he came to the Yankees for one reason, and that was to bring home a World Series, and he's been showing it. Hit a 2-run home run to tie the game, and I got to say, late in that 10th inning when Juan Soto came up to bat, might be one of the best at-bats I've ever seen in the playoffs. He came in there. Every pitch he was fouling off. He was fighting. He was going to force that fastball to come no matter what, and when it finally did, he took advantage of it, and he sent us to the World Series.
Yeah, and I'll kick it over to you now, Nate, as my beloved Mets did lose their series against the Dodgers. They put up a good fight, losing in 6 games, but what can you tell us about this series?
I mean, it might have been a good fight to you on paper, but I mean,
Okay,
honestly,
man.
but I mean, like, honestly, I mean, I think it was just utter dominance by the Dodgers. I mean, they won the 4 games by a combined total of 30 runs. So, I mean, it doesn't get pretty much any dominant than that. The Mets were a great Cinderella story, but, it struck midnight in Game 6 of the NLCS.
Yeah, now obviously for the World Series side of things, we have the Dodgers and the Yankees. They have met 11 times in the postseason. To date, 8-3 the Yankees are in those World Series. This is the 12th appearance, which is 5 more times than any other series, with the Yankees and the Giants coming in second with 7. The Yankees are 37-29 in those World Series games. I had to go in and count every single game of each series, so please make sure that you guys are appreciative of this. It did take a little bit of time, but 37-29 are the Yankees in these games. What are your guys' thoughts on this series? And I'll kick it to you first, Antonio. Who do you think wins the series and why?
I got to stick to what I've been with since the start of the playoffs, and that's the Yankees. Going into this series, the Dodgers have an elite bullpen, but so did the Guardians, and the Yankees were able to find a way around that. Another thing that people should also bring a lot of attention to is the Dodgers only have one left-handed pitcher on that entire playoff roster, and that's going to come to bite them because the Yankees hit a lot better against righties, and the fact that they're going to have to see one lefty throughout the whole series is a big advantage for them. On top of that, if you look through the regular season numbers, Jazz absolutely loves it in LA, hitting .316 against the Dodgers. And if you thought he loved it, Judge might as well marry it because he has a 389 batting average with 8 homers. Garrett Cole is going to be pitching Game 1. I'm expecting him to be big, and I just don't have enough faith when it comes to the Dodgers and their starters.
Yeah, and then on the opposite side here, Nate, what are your thoughts, and who do you think wins?
Man, I gotta agree with Antonio, bro. I mean, he pretty much nailed it, hit the nail right on the head. I mean, I think the Yankees are more consistent with the slugging, and I think they have the advantage with the right hand pitching. So, yeah, I like the Yankees. I would say I would give the Dodgers 6, 2 games. So I like the Yankees in 6.
Yeah, moving over to the WNBA side of things, obviously the finals just ended. With the playoffs being in full swing, of course, we were tied at 1 last time we talked last week. Obviously, the series ended up going the full distance all the way to 5 games. It's back-to-back games that took all the way down to the final possession in games 3 and 4, all the way to overtime in that final game after being tied at 60 through regulation, a 67-62 Liberty win. Obviously, a lot of controversy, I guess, in this game. But what do you guys have to elaborate on that? I guess I'll start with you, Antonio.
As a Liberty, I'm on top of them. I'm ecstatic. As a gentleman who is just watching, take the bias aside, last call on Breanna Stewart was one of the worst I've seen. She gets the ball. She takes at least six steps. She's taking a whole tour around Europe, and she misses. Call a foul. Even that was questionable. I saw a hand up, and they called it. Game goes into overtime, and the Liberty will take it. So congrats to them. But fan of the Lynx, you got to feel like you were a little cheated there.
Yeah, Antonio, you're very right. And then for you, Nate.
I think that the refs did kind of mire things a little bit, but I think Lynx had some chances, and they just couldn't cash in. They needed more than Collier and Midnight, and then nobody could hit a shot. So York deserved championship. Congratulations to them, and the WNBA is on the rise.
Yeah, it is indeed. So that will conclude today's episode. Make sure you stay tuned on Buffalo Sports Insider for our weekly shows every single week on Wednesdays. And on BuffaloSportsInsider.com, we post new articles every day, so make sure you go and check those out as well. Next week, instead of the WNBA, considering it has just closed, we will have the NBA to talk about, which is exciting. And then once the MLB season kicks into the offseason, we'll figure out something else for that as well. So thank you guys so much. My name is Thomas Bailey, and we'll see you next time on Buffalo Sports Insider.